Good evening, everyone. I hope you are all well. Today, I am taking general supporters' questions. I have lots and lots of questions that have been sent to me by email or message. So, I intend to go through them and answer them live. And this way, hopefully, I can address them all. And for those of you who are watching, then perhaps you will be able to um, contribute your opinions, your thoughts, whether you agree with me, disagree, that's fine. That's what it is all about. So let me just sort this out here. There we go. Old live stream logo on. And first question, I'll post it in the chat so that you can actually see the question. This was from. This is obviously a viewer question. So the question is. I understand your reasons, as I hadn't realised how important the election of candidates is until you pointed it out. But you were really passionate about everything you argued for, so under what circumstances would you consider standing again? Okay, thank you very, very much for that question. Yes, I was very passionate about everything. I'd like to think it was clear that I spoke from the heart. In fact, for those of you who attended my meetings, you would notice on two or three occasions I'd actually written out a speech for the meeting, so that I thought to myself, let me write out a speech so that I can actually just read through it professionally. And then at the last minute, I thought, no. And I just scrunched up the paper, because the best way is for me to just say it how I feel and how I want to say it and how I want to express it to people. So, as you may be aware, I thought to myself after the election that I was not happy that we had not immediately moved over to a Democratic Party. And I appreciate many people's opinions is maybe, well, you should have given it time, you should fight from the inside. But the reality is, there is no inside to fight from, because in the structure of reform, it is a company, one person holds 8 out of the 15 shares, that's it. Now, I know of candidates who were removed against their will for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into that at all. I'm not going to comment on anybody else. But from my position, the election was over. Okay, so we have up to 5 years, and I say up to 5 years because I'll cover that in the next question. But we have up to 5 years to prepare for the next election, to start campaigning, to speak to people, highlight to them what's being done to our country. I'm sure that many of you have been watching what's been happening in the first 10 or 12 days, and you must be horrified. But again, that's another matter. In reality, from the minute the election was over, we are not PPCs. We're not prospective parliamentary candidates anymore. We are in limbo. We don't really know where we stand. Now, we may very well continue to promote the party, the policies, argue our case, etc., whether it will be for a few months, a year or two, or up to the whole 5 years. But then in the run up to the next election, that's if there's not a by election in my area or any other candidate's area in the meantime, we could be just told, we're not selecting you, we're selecting this person for whatever reason. That's it. We have literally just invested years, time, effort, and money, and just been cast aside because we don't have any mandate from anyone. Effectively, the first words should have been after the election that the process to democratize the party is in progress now, and it will be in place in a week, 2 weeks, a month. Shouldn't really be longer than that, because there isn't hardly anything to it. It's very, very straightforward. but a few weeks, a couple of months, realistically, shouldn't really be any longer than that. And then we would say, okay, if we know that that is in place, then how it should be, how it should work is then all of the supporters who have paid their £25 to the party would then immediately become voting members. And those voting members should by then be organised into their constituencies. And in each constituency, there should be somebody who is a constituency coordinator who would arrange monthly meetings or however frequently they may be. Obviously, at this point, we wouldn't be able to have our own headquarters office building in each constituency like the Labour Party or the Conservative Party, but that's not a problem. We could just simply use a local club or something like that and have an arrangement with them that we use this place once or twice a month. They'd probably be grateful for a contribution and for the people who are going to turn up and get a drink and so on. Perhaps we could even use that as our official local party address. But more importantly, at the very first meeting, the local paid up members who would be voting members would then elect their local candidate. Here in Northampton North, they may elect me, but they might elect somebody who's younger, smarter, better looking, and got less miles on the clock. That's absolutely no problem. I would be 100% behind that because I am 100% behind proper democracy. That's how it should be. The difference being is that the party members at a local level elect that candidate, and barring anything extreme, then that candidate knows that he or she has the mandate of the local members. And as I said, barring anything that is extreme, then nobody could remove that candidate. That candidate knows that they can go forward as a representative of those local members. And that is crucial. It is the bastion of a democratic party. And we know what happens if you bypass this process, because we saw that when the MPs unilaterally decided to remove Boris, which did not go down well. They then went to the members who voted, and the members voted in Liz Truss. Whatever happened, happened. But ultimately, after that, they decided to cut out the party members and they unilaterally put Rishi Sunak into power, which they should not have done, and it cost them dearly, very, very dearly. That is how important it is, and people don't take kindly to that. And I believe this is crucial. And it's not just about myself. There are candidates up and down the country who are not sure where they stand now. And what concerns me is that in this interim period of silence, that the momentum is beginning to slow down. And I believe that there are candidates who may be disillusioned, disheartened, may just give up, not to mention that already there's quite a lot of candidates who are older who now have no plans to stand in 5 years' time, if indeed it is in 5 years' time. So the time to actually be putting democratically elected candidates into place is now, so that the candidates can be, or prospective parliamentary candidates who are democratically elected by local members, can begin to get to know their community, to lay the foundations for the next election from now. Because I do believe the next election won't be as far away as people may think. Anything could happen. And what would happen if all of this is trying to be put into place with a prospect of a snap election for whatever reason, or even a by-election? It could happen anywhere. I would imagine, let's forget the possibility of a general election, but out of 650 seats, it would not surprise me if we have our first by election within a few months. Now, what's going to happen in that seat? Where is the candidate? What preparations has the candidate put in place? Is the candidate in that place going to be elected, or will there not be time? And this is important, it is crucial, and it is worth standing for, it is worth fighting for, and it is worth standing down for. So, from where I am, then for me to stand forward and say, okay, I'm standing, I wouldn't stand for the seat. I would only stand if I could be elected or not elected by local members who have the right to vote for candidates, for leaders, and have a say in policy. Because all this time, I can speak for most of the others, but I won't. I'll speak for myself. I was fighting for democracy that has been ignored by both parties for decades, and this lot won't be any democratic. That you can be certain. This is the party who, due to the collapse of the Conservative vote, have actually won a massive majority on just 33% of the vote. And taking into account everybody who was registered to vote, their 80% of registered voters don't want them. And look what they are doing to the country. We must not dilute democracy. And for me, that is the most important point at the moment. So I will argue it, not just for myself, but for everyone. Because ultimately, as I said, I could argue, or I will argue, for democracy, but speaking locally, that may very well mean that I put myself forward along with others and somebody else gets chosen. I don't have a problem with that. I fully support that as long as it's done democratically. I hope that that answers your question, because this is a very, very important one. And here's the next one. I've actually put viewer questions when I noted them down rather than names, but never mind. Okay, so this one is: do you believe that Labour will last the full term? No, I don't. I don't think they'll last 5 years. I don't think they'll last four, maybe not even three. From what I've seen, just in this last, in this last 10 or 11 days, I am petrified, absolutely petrified. And having heard this declaration of what may very well be the foundations of a Marxist state in the King's Speech, I'm not just terrified, I'm absolutely fuming. There are there are sort of proposals that they've put in place that have or could have very, very sinister consequences. I don't agree with more building on greenbelt land. Full stop. Don't agree with it. As I've said before, we don't have a housing crisis. We have a population crisis. And I have made videos with the figures of both socially rented housing and privately rented housing. And the figures speak for themselves. It's no wonder that people struggle to rent or buy a house. If we control immigration, then there won't be a problem with housing. There is no need to lose any more farmland. There is no need to build on greenbelt land. We have over 670,000 empty properties in England alone. There are steps we could take to stop people, overseas investors, from parking their money into our property market in London in particular and just leaving them empty. We could welcome their investment, but their investment could be used to redevelop brownfield sites to create affordable housing, social housing, starter homes for people who need them, rather than just be buying up property all over London, indeed all over the country, and just leaving it empty. We shouldn't allow them to park their ill-gotten gains in our property in the UK. That I don't agree with. That is also a lot more properties. And although the official figure is that's quoted is capacity for 1.2 million homes on brownfield sites. I have seen quite a few reports that estimate up to 2 million homes. Obviously, it depends what they are building, but there is more than enough capacity. We shouldn't lose a single field. And I do believe that what they are doing is catastrophic. In the name of being able to build, they're actually beginning to play with what they can pay for compulsory purchase orders. And whilst you may think, well, yes, why should they pay over the top if they're buying land to build houses? As always, follow the money. The justification to pass this law could be with the intention of building houses, but considering that this and the previous administration, they're as bad as each other, both globalists, both being dictated to by the WEF, they are running our farmers out of business. And with this law that they will pass about compulsory purchase orders, it's almost as though they're following the Chinese model of bankrupting the farmers and then taking their land off them at a pittance. And that I disagree with. Our farmers are the source of our food, they are a source of life, like doctors. And I believe that this is very, very sinister, a loss of our farmland. And this is just one of many issues. We haven't heard from the unions yet. They've got this obsession with GB Energy, which has been heard in a recorded in a conversation that was overheard between Miliband and another minister, that it will cost billions and it might not even work. These are just harebrained schemes that take money off of hardworking people and channel it into all the others who are making a fortune from these solar farms and wind farms and all of the rest of the nonsense that they are using as an excuse. And I don't agree with it. I can see so many reasons that they will have serious problems very, very, very quickly. And I do believe that within 6 months to a year, the Labour Party will be in the middle of a major civil war between the left of the party and the more centrist side of the party. What's the next one? Do you believe that we'll be dragged back into the EU by Labour? Yes, I do. Perhaps, maybe um, just in name, in everything but name, rather. But we've seen already, what have they done? They've announced that the 90,000 illegal migrants, this is just the illegal ones that were earmarked to be candidates to be shipped off to Rwanda, are all going to be given asylum. So effectively, that's another 90,000 people who entered this country illegally, who were then shipped off and given free accommodation in hotels and a phone and spending money and so on and so forth, are now going to be rewarded with our indefinite leave to remain. And I have no doubt that they will be at the top of the list for social housing, and any of the houses that this lot do build, it's not going to be people like you or I who will have priority. It is criminals who arrived in this country illegally, and Keir Starmer and his gang of merry clowns have decided to just reward for what they've done. What message does that send out to the world? And at the same time, they're so desperate to ingratiate themselves with the EU that I have no doubt that they will sign up to take a quota of EU migrants. And I also believe there is a real risk of them allowing free movement as part of their negotiations. And that will be catastrophic where we are now, because what will happen then is that other countries in the EU may very well grant their asylum seekers not just indefinite leave to remain. They could even grant them citizenship, and their asylum seekers under an EU passport can then just come straight here. And they won't even be counted in the migration figures. They'll juggle the figures so that they're not counted as, if you like, migrants. They'll be counted as they'll be counted as temporary movement of people within the EU, or whatever it may be. I'm sure you are aware that they are very, very economical with the truth, to say the least. I really don't see many benefits to the approach that they are taking. There could be a few benefits that they will champion. For example, the recognition of professional qualifications. That could have been on the table anyway, if there were a decent negotiation through Brexit, but there was nothing of the sort. It was just a token gesture by a weak leadership who were not really supporting Brexit, full stop. Boris was never a Brexiteer. All he did was the minimum that he could get away with, and that was it, and try and sell it as Brexit, but it was actually an insult. It was not what the people voted for. But yes, we could see a recognition of professional qualifications, which is a good one, of course. Perhaps they'll stop hassling our lorry drivers in Calais. One or two other uh, small benefits to us, but the disadvantages will be far worse, not just from their quota of migrants, not just by being dictated to by their regulation again, not just the fact that it is effectively almost going to be a rerun of Heath going cap in hand to them in the 70s, fishing. The list just goes on, and there are other things that I fear that Keir Starmer will sign up to that I don't agree with. I don't agree with us being signed up to a European Defence Force. I don't agree with anybody else having any right to commandeer our soldiers. Our soldiers should be for the protection of this country, the protection of our sovereignty, and the protection of our borders. But I'm afraid that may not be the case when by the time this guy and his friends have finished. So let's wait and see. Okay, and the next one is: do you agree with all the farmland being taken out of use for solar wind farms? No, I do not. We are talking now hundreds of thousands of acres. There's a solar farm um, in the pipeline just north of here, just on the north end of side of Northampton. That's 3.5 square miles. Um, it's bigger than Gibraltar. Thousands of acres of farmland. It's all farmland, all productive farmland being taken out of use. That's just one of many. How much farmland are we going to sit by and watch them take off us? We barely produce 50% of our food as it is. We need to produce at least 75% to be able to sustain ourselves through a conflict. God forbid that should happen. At 50% or less, in the event of a major conflict, there will be mass starvation in this country. Um, we need to support our farmers. We need to stop losing land to these crackpot experiments. And as far as solar farms go, there are many other places that they could be sited. They could be all the way down the side of our, and in the middle of our motorways, industrial estates. The list is just endless. Why are they so intent on destroying our farmland? Why are they so intent on controlling our food supply? As always, follow the money. No, I am totally against them. Good evening, David. Lovely to see you. I've been in hospital. I've just got out. I had a stroke. I'm sorry to hear that. I was wondering where you were, and then I thought I'll give it another day or so, and then I'll message to check up on you. I hope you're well, my friend, and I don't know how you're coping, but I'll message you later and see how you're doing. Okay, I'm back to my usual having a rant. Was answering a few questions. I had literally just noted down four of them, which I have responded to now, and I uh, just wanted to finish off with a little summary about everything. Um, these issues that I have covered, everything I've covered. Um, I hope it comes across that it is what I believe in, um, what I agree with or disagree with. There's no problem with us disagreeing in a stream or face to face. What does concern me is how polarized people have become, because people on all sides should be able to get together and have political debates without it becoming toxic, hostile, or threatening. It doesn't seem to happen anymore, and this is catastrophic. I believe that we need debate, we need respectful debate so that people can once again become engaged with politics and express their opinion about the issues and the decisions and the choices that will affect them. And for me, above and beyond everything, it's democracy. If I were to have my way, then the entire democratic structure would be changed. In other words, I would be in favour of a local parish councillor such as myself, being the representative for two or three streets. Every person in every house in those two or three streets would know me and I would know them. And they would elect me because they are confident that I'm looking out for them. Party irrelevant. It's me. And I would then I would then represent them further up, and that person would represent all of us further up in Parliament, almost bypassing uh, all of the party divisions and answering purely to the people. Is that going to happen? Never. I'm in favour of all major decisions being put to the people to vote on. And we don't need postal votes. It doesn't need to cost a fortune. I'm sure the vast majority of you have logged into your .gov account at some point, whether it is to renew your passport or do your tax return, or pay your national insurance or whatever it may be. I'm sure that you would agree it's very secure. Your username or password, I've forgotten which one it is, comes to you in two separate letters, and you have two-step security login. I think it's safe to say that it's pretty secure, and it's definitely more secure than a postal vote. Definitely. And there are no mailing charges. Literally, a civil servant in government could literally, with one click of a mouse, for the sake of argument, could have a vote go out to every single person registered in the country, and you would have a time frame, be it 24 hours or 7 days or 28 days, to log in and cast your vote. How wonderful would that be? How respectful would that be to the citizens of this country that on any major issues they had a voice? I think taking farmland out of production is an issue that people should be permitted or have the opportunity to vote on. I believe that changes to our transport, changes to energy, All of these are issues that do affect everyday people, and I believe that everyday people should have a voice, but they do not. What we do have is lies, misinformation at the very least, and allegations and insults. Anybody who doesn't agree is either a fascist or a climate denier, or they don't understand, or they're uneducated, or they're ignorant. The list goes on and on and on. I believe it's time that we began to see through this smokescreen and understand that politicians on all sides, this administration and definitely the one before, are guilty of creating chaos so that they take our eyes off the ball so they can do whatever it is that suits them or suits the wishes of their paymasters. Because, as Nigel Farage quite rightly said, we have not elected a prime minister and a cabinet. We have elected middle managements. The CEOs of this country are hidden. They're in Davos, they're wherever they are, they're Bilderbergers, whatever. But they are the ones who are pulling the strings, and we are electing their puppets effectively. I'm lucky Bournemouth NHS looked after me really quickly. They got clot busting drugs into me very quickly and saved. Oh, fantastic. I'm delighted to hear that, and I hope you are well, sir. I really, really do. And on that note, that is what matters to me. All of the rest are, are incidentals, but it is democracy that matters to me. The problem is no government is going to change the system that got it into power. No government is going to change the system that gives it a majority, especially a huge one. And people, for vanity, ego, power, do not like to relinquish power. But ultimately, it is only you, the electorate, who can stop the madness. And there are many things that have happened over the years, over the decades, that I fervently believe would not have happened should the public have had the benefit of a democratic voice and a democratic vote. In the past, certainly before the internet, that was a different situation. Collating referendums and so on was the country grinds to a halt trying to sort something like that out. But now, well, the way things are now, it is possible for us to log in and be able to cast a vote once a week, once a month on 5, 10, 20, 50 different issues, should we want to. And that should be taken into account. But do you think it's going to happen? Maybe I don't. Maybe that's an idealistic view. Fine, but it's not unrealistic. It's certainly possible. And I know that there are people out there that can put this in place very, very easily. It's not so difficult. And as I said, the vast majority of people either have a .gov account or could have one in no time, even with the delay of posting out your username. That will be done once, and after that, you can log in and you will be able to have your say. And I believe that that's how it should be. And myself, I'm not thinking what I'm going to do in the future at this point. If I'm going to stand, or if I'm going to stand to be able to stand, if you like, it would be I would only stand if local members can choose who they want to represent them, be that me or someone else. I don't want to be, I don't think it's right that that decision is taken away from the people. When something was done in a hurry, as it was this last time before the election, because we had no choice, that's fine. But now we don't have time pressure. But on the other hand, we do, because we need to get this in place very, very quickly. And we need to have democratically elected candidates, and we need to be working on our foundations now before people begin to lose interest, lose heart, wither away, and disappear. And whenever the next election comes, or a by election, that person or persons fighting next time will be starting from ground zero, and that would be wrong, because we need to arm ourselves politically to fight this dangerous bunch of clowns who are in control of our country for the time being. And on that note, thank you very, very much. Thank you those who have joined me, or those who watch it will watch this after the fact. If you have questions for me, send them in. I'd like to do this more often, to be perfectly honest. It's nice and random, short and sweet, and it puts me on the spot, which is great. So sometimes I'm sure there'll be questions that I won't be able to answer. That's fine. And even if you disagree with me, please feel free to come forward and express your opinion, because that's how it should be. That's all for now. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time, and bye bye for now.